Thanks for all coming. It's a very good turnout. All for Shaun. Shaun, I feel really bad. I'm going to put on a tie in a few minutes. In fact, he's going to show me how to tie. I'm particularly excited by this Trinity knot. Anyway, Shaun is going to elucidate you all in the world of ties, knots, how to make them. So without any further ado, Shaun.
Thank you everyone for coming out today. It's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you Guy and Dashing Tweeds team for accommodating me today and hosting the event. So you may be wondering how I got into ties. This is coming from a gentleman who used to have locks right down to his back, used to wear probably Levi jeans and a t-shirt, and I ended up falling into the world of making ties. Well, what happened is that I was looking for a tie and I couldn't find a tie that I actually wanted to wear. And so therefore, coming from a background of London College of Fashion where they actually teach you how to deconstruct garments and make them back again, so therefore you teach yourself how to make a particular garment, that's how I got into ties. But my obsession took me 2 years to actually perfect the craft of making ties. So during that time, I decided, okay, I'm going to perfect this. So on my mannequin, my ties were building up. My friends and family were taking interest to what I was making, and they wanted to buy it off of me. And I was like, no, look at the flaws here and there, this is incorrect, etc. I mean, I never forget my first tie was actually made on the grain. No one makes ties on the grain, you make it on the bike. We know that now, of course. So now, as today, I actually designed the actual fabrication of the actual ties. I actually make for made to order and bespoke clients as well, and that is all within 4 years within the making, as me working full time and doing it on the side as my passion and my side hobby. Now, during the time of my obsession, I decided, where did ties come from? What was the purpose of ties? So therefore I started to do a little research into ties. And this is going to be a very brief history because I don't want to bore you in terms of like going really, really geeky on ties, because that's how deep I can really get into this subtopic. So ties started, or the early discovery of neckwear was in China through the first emperor Qin Shi Huangdi. And he decided to build a chamber of 8,000 sculptures, and all of these sculptures had neckwear around their neck and tucked into their armour. And these armies were going to assist him in the reign in his afterlife, similarly to the Egyptians. However, you have the Roman Emperor, Tyrannus, who also erected the column of Trajan. And along these sculptures on this pillar, there were the relief of the soldiers, and they also wore neck scarves around their necks. Now, some would argue that this is the early forefather of the four-in-hand knot, which is what we have today. But commonly, it is believed that the actual ancestors of ties actually stem from King Louis XIII from France. And whilst he was in battle of the 30-year battle with the Empire of Habsburg, he fought alongside the cavalry mercenaries, and they actually wore the cravat, and that hence came the name cravat, the Croatian cravat. And how they wore it was twice around the neck, simple knot with what I like to call pigtails that came on the side, and that's how they wore it to defend against the harsh conditions of war and the weathers. So during that time, Charles II, he was exiled, and he was living in France at the time. However, when he went back to England to claim the throne, again, 9 years later, you know what happened. He brought back the fashion, the cravat. And so therefore, during the 18th century, you had many different trends, particularly the macaronis, who were very extravagant in their attire. Big lapel, voluminous hair, powdered faces, clashes of patterns, stripes, check, you name it. They were going for gold. Particularly their cravat, per se, wrapped around their neck 10 times, and then finished with a massive bow for extra kick and punch, if you will. However, this is very, very in contrast to our kind gentleman, George Beau Brummel, who was very different. I did a quote from him: "If John Bull looks at you, then you are not well dressed." meaning he would want to dress in a way where you are inconspicuous. So therefore, his style and dress was very much all about fit, form, muted colours, intelligent blends here and there with trousers and the jacket. But he actually expressed himself also through the cravat or the neckwear and ties. And he was very particular. So legend has it that it took him 5 to 6 hours to get ready in the morning. And that was based on the fact that as he tied his neckwear, he was not allowed no creases, the knot had to be in perfect position, and then if it wasn't, he would discard it on the floor and pick a fresh one from his butler, of course, and start all over again. So you can imagine the amount of times he had to go through that process. So the normal civilian every day did not have time to be waking up at 3 a.m. in the morning in order to do the neckwear around his neck 10 times and get it particularly perfect for the public to then enter into bank in the morning or into their office. So this opened up a new market for tailors, craftsmen, to try to introduce something that was more accessible for the general public. So by the end of the 19th century, you had the 3 ruling neckwear types: the bow tie, the ascots, and the necktie, which was formerly called the four-in-hand before. Am I boring you yet?
No.
Okay, good. And so, but the necktie, even though it was popular amongst the bow ties and the ascots, even though it was popular, it had its shortcomings. Because it was cut on the grain before, it used to slide down as you wear it. Hence the reason why they used to wear the tie pin and the tie clips to keep the ties up. But then in 1926, Jeff Langdorf, he created a tie similar to this one here, cut on the bias into 3 pieces. As you can see here, this is cut on the bias, and the proof of that, if you look at the pattern on the silk, it is on the diagonal. So cut on the bias means when you cut a particular piece on the 45 degrees, as you can see here, and it's 3 pieces. So you have the blade, you can see here. You have the neck, which most of you gentlemen would actually use to judge where you're going to do your actual knot. Yeah. And then you have the tail, the lesser end. Okay? So, but also during this time, the tie still evolved. It became longer because waistcoat went out of fashion at that time. So therefore they had to create and make longer ties. So therefore it would end at the waist of the trouser. And bearing in mind, gentlemen back then wore their trousers much more higher than where we wear it today. So moving on to the construction of ties. As I've shown you earlier, this is a tie that would, one I prepared earlier. That's been put together like this. So you've got the blade, the front, the neck, and the tail. And then also the tipping, which can be self, or it could be rolled edge if you prefer not to have the tipping, if you will, attached to it as well. I don't know if you guys can see at the back. Can you see? Okay. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you. And then within that, this is the interlining, which actually goes into the tie. And this will help give the tie body. It's also made of wool, so therefore it's resilient. Good against the resilient against crease, and also help for the tie to drape as well in a more flattering manner, other than if you cut the tie on the grain and had no interlining at all, unless you're doing a 7-fold, but that's another chapter which I won't go into. And yeah, so sometimes it kind of skews. Another one I prepared earlier. So this is a tie that's kind of half done. I kind of unpicked this for this event today. Poor tie. So you finish the blade with a bar tack, or some tie makers, they call it bullion. And what's really important is the tension thread within the tie. So as you pull, you notice it starts to gather. And this is very important because one thing, and when I started making ties, I didn't know about this, but I stumbled upon it. And one time I did my tie up, snap, and my tie unravelled throughout the day. So this is very, very important to have within your ties. And this is the way you're going to tell if you have a very good quality tie or not. If you have the tension thread within the making of the tie. Because you are knotting the tie itself, you need movement within the neckwear that moves and react to the fabrics with movement. And that's why you have it. And as you can see, you've got the interlining here too. Pull that side. Actually inserted. This is a 3-fold tie. With the tipping, a nice fun spotted tipping here there. And that is how you make a tie. In a nutshell. And on my right over here, you have the latest and new collection, which is called The Work of Art, Well-Dressed Man. And how I came about this collection was basically, I was inspired when I went to the V&A Museum. And I was looking at all these different sculptures. And what I loved about it was the way the light came onto the sculpture and it revealed certain textures, whether it was smooth, whether it was quite rough. And my philosophy of the tie making and designing the fabric is taking what is already present from whether it's 1920, 30, 50, whether it's paisley, medallion, stripe, whatever pattern it is, and then reinvent it, renew it. And the way I've done that is by, if you look closely when you have time, you'll see that it all has a textual interest within the actual patterns. That's why they are different. Obviously, I've also looked into colours, and I wanted to use colours that were bold and striking, because there's so many times where we wear ties, we try to play it safe in terms of the navies and the burgundy, which are all good colours. But every now and again you want to express your mood, the mood of joy and happiness, or that mood of like, look at me, I'm doing a very good job here, you know, or whatever, you know. I mean, I believe I create ties for the modern man about town who wants to express his personality and who's going against conformity. And that's what this new collection represents. Thank you very much for your time and patience. And now I'm going to show you how to do 3 different knots. And did anyone bring a tie today to practice with?
Oh, Shaun, it's too hot today.
A bit of pardon? I beg your pardon?
Sorry, I'm leaving.
Well, I've got a few ties here, so if you want to join me in making or creating any of these knots, there is a competition today where you can win this tie here. So, if you want to join the competition, feel free to take a tie and
yeah, I'll be more than happy. Let me tell you.
anyone?
I'm not allowed to do it.
Yeah.
We don't need to do it.
Anyone else want to join?
Thank you.
Okay. Oh.
Oh, sorry.
I'll get you a tie. Don't worry.
You should do it. Thank you.
What a shirt. We've got loads of them here.
Okay, so first of all, it's okay. We'll work with it. So first of all, I want to show you. Oh, this thing is getting in the way. I want to show you how to do a simple knot, which is also called the Oriental knot. Particularly, it got its name because a lot of gentlemen in Asia apply this knot. Where we in the Western world, we apply the 4-in-hand knot. In the Eastern, did I say that right? In the Eastern world, they would apply this knot as their go-to knot. Yeah, cool. I said that right. Okay. So, right. Just want to make sure that I'm not in the way, but I need to also make sure that I can do the knot properly as well. So, can you all see okay? Mm-hmm. Perfect. Okay. So this is how you do the simple knot. It's very simple. Well, I say simple, but you know. Okay, so you cross it over,
Backwards.
under.
Backwards.
Yes. So, sorry, excuse me. So put the tie backwards so the seam is actually facing away. Yeah. Cross over. Up and over into the noose.
I think I've done mine backwards.
Okay. Right, so
That way?
okay, you've done it that way. Okay. Well, in that case, then you. Oh God, you're confusing. Right, that way you go like you'll do it that way then.
There we go.
And then up and under. Perfect. Oh, you're wearing a knitted tie. This knot is very good for knitted ties, actually. Yeah. And then you pull it through the actual knot. Now, this particular knot does have its shortcomings because as you pull, you have to be quite particular and gentle with this knot. Sorry, am I in the way again? Oh. Because the actual knot itself kind of contorts as you pull, so you have to make sure that the knot actually has a good shape. Wow, very good. Oh, very good, guy. My goodness.
Oh dear.
Good. Very
Yeah, what
good.
is- what is-
You're all done.
This isn't the four in hand.
No, this is the simple knot.
Simple.
The four in hand is very different because it's facing towards you. Now that's the Prince Albert knot, that one. Because the four in hand is literally you go over like this, you create the body of the knot, you come under, over, whereas literally what you just did literally was
Much
under,
more, yeah.
over, and much more shorter space time of creating the knot.
I thought this was the simplest one. Is it? So the four in hand's not the simplest knot there is.
There is an
Not
easier
really,
one.
no. but it's because we all been taught that knot because that's what we know. So
Yeah.
until
It's
someone
like a
introduces you
Western.
the simple knot, and then you're like, oh my goodness, this is absolutely easier and simpler.
But you can get a tighter, smaller knot.
Of course, and that's why, if you noticed on the demonstration here, I've picked on purpose the small collar to match the small knot. And the average spread, collar spread, but it looks very nice and it's very complementary to the shirt. Okay, are you ready for your next knot?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is called the Prince Albert. Now, depending on how you do this, it can actually be called the Victoria knot. So, but I'm going to show you the Prince Albert knot. Without, no puns intended.
You don't know what you mean.
No, I can see funny looks, so I'm like, no puns intended. So, okay, let's put that over there. Okay, so in layman terms, the Prince Albert knot is literally a double four in hand knot. If you know how to do a four in hand, that is. So, cross over. Sorry, the tie is facing it the right way showing, excuse me. It makes me realise how much I take this for granted. So, under and over. And then you're going to go again, under and over.
We're just going around an extra time.
Yes.
Yep.
Under the neck. A little tip when you're tying this knot, always try to leave the second noose that you created quite loose because you're going to put the blade through that noose.
Oh,
Not through both.
Sorry?
Not through both, then just through the front.
Just through both of them?
Through both of them, yes. So you created one, two, you're going through the first noose.
You're going through the first noose, not the second noose.
Yeah.
The first, yes.
The closest one
Because
to
if
the
you go
inside.
through, yes, closest one to the tie. So if I show you quickly.
Now it's got difficult, hasn't it?
So here,
Oh yeah, then you end up with that little extra.
you've got one, two,
And then you're going through the inside.
and you're going through the first one.
Okay.
Okay?
Oh, and then you end up with
There you go, you've got it, yeah. Because if you go through the second one, you will create the Victoria knot,
Oh, okay.
which is a beautiful elongated 4-in-hand knot, basically.
Do you want there to be sort of layers? Or
Yes, that is the aesthetic of this knot, and that's what's really beautiful about it. It's very simple, but it's quite sophisticated. If I finish my knot.
Are there certain clubs and people who just have their own knots that you identify with?
Back in the day, there were actual knots that were dedicated for different clubs. So the 4-in-hand was actually dedicated to an actual club, and everyone in that particular club wore the 4-in-hand knot, not any other knot.
And what are the Windsors? Are that...
Well, legend has it that some people think the Duke of Windsor was the one that made the Windsor knot, but it actually isn't. He never actually wore the Windsor. Apparently, he actually wore the 4-in-hand, but because he used to have his ties made for him, it looks like it's a Windsor knot.
And I know it's not on the agenda. Can we do a Windsor as well?
A Windsor? Ooh. Oh, God. No pleasing some people, is it?
Why have you got such an eager audience?
Okay, so that's your Prince Albert. Beautiful. I think you've done the Victoria knot there. Wonderful, because you've gone through the first one. You've gone through the first one.
Interesting. That sort of
Lovely,
layering.
very nice.
That
Let's see.
texture of it.
Okay. Wow. Excellent, guys. Okay, I'm going to show you the Trinity knot before I go to the Windsor, because I know that's what most of you have been waiting for.
Which knot is the competition knot? Or is
Sorry?
it all of them?
Ooh, I think the Trinity.
Trinity, man.
So this will
I
be
think
the
the Trinity
one.
knot has to be the competition knot.
Okay, so everyone get ready.
So everyone get ready.
I thought you've been awarding points all the way through.
Yeah.
You were hoping it was multiple choice, weren't you?
It's the accumulation of the three.
Overall winners.
Okay. Right. Are you ready for the Trinity knot? It's gonna blow your mind.
Did this take you a long time to learn this?
No.
I can't even do this one.
It kind of once I got the knack. No, it didn't take me very long to learn it. No, because once I realised what they were doing, I realised, I get it. You know, it's almost like if you go fishing, and if you're a sailor and you know how to do the knots and everything, you'll probably be able to do this knot pretty easily. Okay, so normally I do the knot like this.
Have you got the Japanese, the what was it? The first one called? What was the first one called?
the simple knot.
Have you got the simple knot now?
No, I've got the Kelvin knot.
Another knot.
Just to add to the
You're gonna
confusion.
hear
Just to add to the
what we
confusion.
Are there any sailors in the house?
You're like, if you. Oh, damn it. Right, okay, so with this one, it's pay attention to how.
The smaller blade's longer.
Yes, because it's the blade that creates this knot, the tail. You got that? Okay. So, cross over, under.
Oh, what's that?
Yep. Over, under
What the?
the tail.
Oh wait, the smaller.
Yes, the tail. So.
Over.
Yeah, are we
the
all on the same page?
Not sure.
Okay. Okay. And then you're gonna pull it over, under, over.
So yours is creasing a bit. Is that right for it to crease?
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine. Actually, if you like to wear creases in your ties, then it'd be better to create the crease now, because later on you won't be able to.
Oh yeah.
Now is
Yeah.
the time for doing
And then Yeah, some people take their creases very seriously. Or dimples, that's a better word, dimples. They take their dimples seriously. So you create the body.
Did everyone see that? I think you might have to
I'll
do
do
that
it again.
one more time.
Thank you, Kev. So,
Start.
you've
start.
got it.
So this is the first bit, and now you're going into the second again.
Yeah,
Okay,
so you're going to
perfect.
create
So under.
the second. Like that. Yeah, good.
What lost us at first?
Hey, you catching up to this?
I've resigned.
I'm back in the room. And then you put it over, almost like over the body like this. No, not that way, sir. Not that way, no. Okay, I'll come to you in a second. Over. This is a serious knot. Got that, everyone? Okay. Yeah. Tuck it out under.
Tuck it through.
Yes.
And that tightens or?
Tuck it through, but a little tip. Bring it to one side. My right hand. Bring it to your right side. Like that. Wonderful. Brilliant. Under, apparently. And this is where it gets tricky. I'm not This is where it really gets tricky. So, this tail goes through this noose. I'm telling you, this is where, for me, I found the most difficulty. And as you can see, I've not finished it properly yet, but that's just to show you how to create the Trinity knot without me finishing it. Yeah. Without a mirror as well.
Oh, thank you.
Very good. Very good.
Speaking of which, I do need a mirror. Where am I?
Oh yeah, you are there, yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I'm on that top.
Oh yeah. Sure. Let me. Very good.
That's going to hang us.
I've got a knitting pad. So
You are covered for
you know
insurance.
what? I wouldn't.
That is a desperate measure for failing your.
And then,
Nearly. And so
Could you do that last step again?
the last step, yeah, sure. So I'm going to do it slowly, so therefore you can understand the mechanics of it all. So yeah. Okay, right, again. In, under, over. Yeah. And then this is where it gets tricky, as I was saying earlier. Put it through. Because at this point in time, a bit like a bow tie, you have to fix it to make sure that it maintains its shape. And that is basically your Trinity knot.
so this goes under the collar then when you put it
Yes,
forward.
right, yes. Oh, really? So that goes under the collar like this, and then it would finish like that. Yeah.
That's suited that time.
But
You should
then-
wear it on stage. You think? Yeah. It's very distinguished.
I can't see that unfortunately, but
No, but it looks really, you've done it very well.
You can't,
without even looking at a mirror. That's
You can't
very
tighten
good.
it up once it's there. That's the problem.
you can a bit.
But because you've got a small collar, this I think you need a generous spread of collar.
I've got a penny collar.
Yeah. So
It's a halfpenny collar nowadays.
sort of finish.
Inflation, dreadful, isn't it?
If I sort of finish him off, that's the result you're gonna get.
It's really
And
interesting
that
where
is-
you put the dimple in and it stays throughout the
Throughout, yeah.
process.
So if you like to wear your dimples, I would strongly recommend that you put the dimple in the beginning.
Early as
because
possible, yeah.
because by the time you get to this stage,
It's locked in.
it's locked in.
Yeah.
You cannot. It's not going to work. So there you have the Trinity knot. I'm going to look at everyone's knot and try and decide who wins the Mr. London tie. So okay. Have a look. Are you?
No, I've
Oh,
Are we allowed to check in the mirror?
No, it's all right. Oh,
the whole bit.
very good.
Just kind of just the slides are great.
Oh, my.
Great, I thought it really works.
Don't worry. Very good.
Thank you.
This is difficult.
This is good leadership.
This is very difficult now because it's out of you. It's out of you two.
It's a couple more.
I'd rather you didn't see mine. It's fine.
Oh.
No, but that's very good effort. Very good.
I was doing all right, and then I got to stage 5A, and then I lost it.
Very good effort. Wow. I don't. You know what?
That is also a very.
You know
nice
what? For this particular event, I'm going to award 2 Mr. London ties. One for you, sir, and one for you.
Oh, thank you.
Yay! Winners!
I think it was too close to call. I was just
It was a tie.
Here all night.
Thank you very much for your patience. Thank you everyone for taking part in the competition.